This is Pushkala and we are going to see what is recurrent neural network in this video. So before going into recurrent neural network, why do we need this? We have so many other neural network architectures like MLP and CNN and so and on and on. And why do we specifically need a recurrent neural network? Before answering that question, let's see a architecture of recurrent neural network. We'll have the inputs and that will be given to a neuron with the artificial activation function. AFN is the activation function. We'll give the input to this neuron with the activation function, and that will give us a output. This is actually a general neural network architecture. While talking about RNN, what is the difference between the normal conventional neural network and the RNNs? It will have a feedback loop to the activation function itself. Why do we have this feedback loop and what is the purpose of this? So let's say you have to give a sequence of input to predict the next output. So sequence in the sense, let's say I have 10 input and I'll have to predict next single output. So in this case, in most of the neural networks, the number of inputs is fixed. If it is 10 inputs, each time the user have to give 10 inputs and single output will be given by the neural network. This is general in most of the neural networks. Whereas in recurrent neural networks, you can give any number of inputs. It's not specified the sequence have to be of a particular length. You can give any number of inputs. I can give 10 inputs and ask for next single output, or I can give 4 inputs and ask for next output. I can do any of the input sequence. Input sequence doesn't have a proper size. It can be of changing sizes. That is why a RNN architecture is different from others. When you have to handle the inputs with sequences that are different from one another, you can go for RNN. And how does RNN architecture work? It just has an extra feedback loop. And how does it differ from the other networks? So let's say let's unroll this. Let us unroll this neural network. Yes. I have 3 inputs. Let's say this is input 1, and I'll be giving that to the first activation function, isn't it? And it will give me the output 1. This is usual, but in recurrent neural network, I need to give the input 2. In that case, I'll have a summation here and then the activation function. There will be a loop here that goes on towards this summation, which takes the input 2 and then go to the activation function, which gives out my second output. And let's say I have the third input. And the third input, I'll have a summation function and then an activation function for the neuron. The output will be summed with the third input, and it will be given to the third activation function, giving out my output 3. So I don't know how many inputs are there. So until that, my neurons will be keep on running. My network will be keep on growing until I have the n number of inputs, and then the activation functions, and then the final output. This is how RNN works. it doesn't matter how many inputs I give, the network will be able to handle those number of inputs and then give me a output for that specific number of inputs. This is what RNN is. Thank you so much. And if you have any doubts, leave it in the comment section.